Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenaye, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, we're back out here on actually it's a cloudier day than it was the last time I was sitting here with Angel Traynor. We were talking about National Recovery Month. We promised to come back and talk about Serenity Sistas, which is a nonprofit that you formed out of necessity, perhaps?
It was necessity. There were no recovery homes, specifically in the Annapolis area, because I'm from Annapolis. But really, there were none in the county, so it was a need.
Well, I know that way back when I was doing mornings with WRNR, I remember you barged into the studio one morning with Robinson was there. And I will say that for those that know Angel, will say that her stature is nowhere near capable of holding the size of her heart. This is a woman that has a bottomless pit of caring for those that are struggling in Anne Arundel County. And you talked about it. It's a recovery home, and that's where your heart lies. That's where your background.
It is, and my heart is there because I can relate. I'm very empathetic to those that suffer from the disease of addiction because I've been there, and I know what it feels like, and I know what the need is, especially in early recovery for individuals.
Now, did you ever go through you spoke about a recovery house. Did you have that option when you were going?
I did not. So I've been clean and sober for 17 years, and thank you. It's not all me, trust me. I have a village that helps to hold me up. There were no recovery homes for women. I mean, the only option at the time really was Chrysalis House, but I didn't fit the criteria because I did not have small children. So it definitely was a need, and I have to tell you, in the beginning, I didn't know if I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. I wasn't sure, but I'm in it to win it today. A recovery home is? It is after treatment. So many times we have burned bridges.
Okay, after treatment. Okay, so is that a detox type of a thing? That's where you've gotten a medical type of a treatment, but it said, okay, you have an addiction, it's affecting you physically and mentally and everything else. We stabilize you. Mm-hmm. Go forth and...
Correct. So that's medical treatment, absolutely, where you go through the detox. You're lucky if you get 28 days these days. But then what do you do after that? Because we have burned bridges. We cannot go home. We don't have a home. We came from somewhere, the streets or wherever. So when you come into our recovery homes, we take it very seriously that it is our job to help you acclimate back into the community as a productive citizen. And we do that in many different ways. But when you say, what is a recovery home? It is congruent living. It is ours. Serenity Sistas is not only managed by a house manager and an assistant house manager, but I also have a team on the outside side of an office staff because we are very hands-on in houses. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times we've gotten somebody that they don't have a social, they don't have a resume, they don't have life skills. I mean, we do laundry 101, things like that.
Well, it's all critical things needed to survive in the world. Sure. Does everybody that works for you, talk about your house managers and your office staff and everything else, everybody in recovery?
So my house managers and my assistant house managers are actually individuals that have lived in that house from the very beginning of their recovery. They've come through the program. They've answered all of the criteria that we have, and they're given the option. I mean, we don't make them go into the position because that position is not for everybody. But they have come up through the program, and they live there on site. The rest of my staff obviously does not live on site, but 80% of my staff is in recovery.
Well, I think that, if you're going to talk the talk, they probably need to walk the walk at some point. Whether it be you mentioned it with maybe I have a child that went through addiction and has been clean. Maybe that enables me to be able to come work for you. But I think there has to be some adjacency to do it really for us to be effective. And you mentioned your house man. That sounds like plural. I mean, how many houses do you have?
We have 6 homes. We have 3 single female homes. We have 1 single male house. We have a mother's and children's home. And just this year, we opened up the very first in the state of Maryland men with children recovery home.
It's fantastic. I mean, it sort of really tells you that the addiction knows no bounds.
None.
I've got a friend that lives in a very nice town in Eastward on the water. So you put the dollars on that when you go on to Zillow, whose son was addicted and ended up going into a rehab down in Florida, I think it was, and wanted to come back for the holidays. And they were, and as in Angel, we can't go home. And they were like, no, this is what got you in trouble, whether it be, our situation, whether it be your friends here or availability or whatever, but you're doing much better in Florida. As much as we love you and as much as we want you here for Christmas and the holidays, you need to be in a bar. So, I mean, it's really a godsend that this resource is here for these men and women. How did that feel about being involved in an organization called Serenity Sistas?
They're okay, but we also have a phrase that we use that was actually coined by a sister that had lived in every one of my houses, who sadly lost her battle with the disease. But she coined it a long time ago, and that was once a sister, always a sister. So we took that over to once a mister, always a mister. And we mean that when we say that, because we have returning individuals that come back, right? I get calls all the time, John, and they're like, Angel, okay, can I come home? Can I come back home? Because they've gone on to do whatever for whatever reason, and then they want to come home. So we stand by that all the time.
Well, before we get too far there, Serenity Sistas, SIFTAS.org is the website. It is, and everybody should go take a look at that. And, addiction doesn't really discriminate on who it affects. What I mean, it really does. It's very similar to cancer in some ways, that you don't have to go very far in your own family to find out whether it's affecting you or whether, how close it is to you. I remember one time we talked on a podcast way, way back when we were talking about the opioid issue, and I told the story time and time again. You sit there and you think, oh my God, I didn't sit there in a park, and it couldn't possibly happen here. And I remember you telling, okay, if I gave you $50 and asked you to go get me some heroin right now, how long would it take? And we were sitting there, and I said, I came back in 10 minutes. I said, what about Glen and Burnie? He said, probably under 10. What about Southern County? I said, okay, well, I've got a little bit of traveling to do. We'll give it 20. I mean, and it blew my mind. And one thing that you would have said that really sort of hit it home for me as far as an addict goes, and I'm very cautious of myself. My father was an alcoholic, and he always cautioned me to be cautious of it. And I don't know that I have that addictive personality, but one thing that it dawned on me when we were talking last time, when you sit there and you look at, Annapolis, that's like opioid central, and Glen Burnie is opioid central. Yeah, that's where most of the overdoses are recorded. For most of the deaths are recorded. They're not recorded so much down in Lothian. What it is, if you are starving and if somebody gives you a Big Mac meal, okay, you're not going home. You're not setting the meal, setting the table. You're not getting the linen out of the thing. You're taking the damn burger and you're jamming it in your mouth. That's why we're seeing. So those that are listening, don't ever think that this is not happening in your neighborhood.
Correct.
Because it is.
It is. It absolutely is. I had people in Pasadena tell me one time that the overdoses that happened there, that wasn't their people. It was people coming from out of town. People don't really come from out of town to go to Pasadena. Sorry.
There are better places to go.
There are other places to go. Right. But that's absolutely true. I mean, if you look at the map that the county police department puts out. You will see their hotspots. One is up in the northern part of the county, and then you come down to Annapolis, which is central, and there's hotspots there. And that's because people will go to Baltimore. They will make it back into the county. Maybe they will make it back into the county, and that's where they'll consume whatever they have purchased. And then they'll get well there, and then they'll be like, 25 more minutes, 20 minutes, Annapolis, let's go again. So
That's crazy. Well, tell me about the program. I'm assuming this is not covered by insurance, because insurance rarely covers anything. So, how does somebody get help?
So we do not accept insurance. I am not clinical in any way. None of my staff is clinical. We are all recovery coaches. We do not use insurance. There are some streams of funding. If you are, I'll start with Anne Arundel County. Anne Arundel County has a stream of funding that will cover an individual for up to 8 weeks, their first 8-week stay. And that allows the individual to come in, get acclimated to their area, because our people are not all from Annapolis or Anne Arundel. We get people from all over. They have to get acclimated to their area. They have time to find a job and do some things, right? Get flat-footed, because we're very off balance when we get here out of treatment, because we have no idea which way is up or down. So the county has 8 weeks worth of funding that they will help you with. But there's also a stream of state funding that will help you with the 8 weeks. So given those two options, an individual has a really good shot of getting their balance and starting that new life.
How long in your experience that you've seen through the sick home that you have and the hundreds of people that you helped, how long does it take to get this shit together? You said 8 weeks, and you might have another 8 weeks. Is 16 weeks, is that enough for somebody to do it? I know you said it was years and years for you. And then it still continues, I'm sure. I know my father is terrified of alcohol before he died. And he hadn't drank in, years.
No, 16 weeks is not enough. I just crossed over the 17-year mark. And while I live a very different life today than I did 17 years ago, we all need help at some point in our lives with different aspects. I would say that the number of people that make it to a year is pretty good. But then do many of them make it to the second year? Because I think that what happens commonly is a lot of people will get to a year and they'll be like, I have this. I got this. I'm fine. I don't need that support. And they'll walk away, and then the next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call of, Angel, can I come home? You need to make those people feel welcome. You need to make them feel comfortable enough to know that they can call you at any time. I have lifelong friends that know that they can call me at any time, whenever, because I have friends that still drink, and they still do the things that they do. And they know. It's just, you just have to be open and welcoming, which is, we could talk for another hour about stigma, because the stigma is there. And I do understand the stigma, and I do understand the anger and the outrage that some community members may feel. But my first question is always, who hurt you? Who hurt you? What addict hurt you? That, and how can we repair that? You talked about the grandmother forgiving. Our families have a right to be angry. I can't tell you how many times one of our participants has been like, oh my God, my mother. First of all, dear, it's the only mother that you have. And second, you probably hurt her. So we have to recover together, right? Families, I believe that addiction is a family disease because it impacts the whole family. So it has to be a recovery process as well. I'm a big believer of hands-on experience. I love that part. Serenity Sistas. So we have the home. We are currently working on a recovery community center that will be here in the city of Annapolis. With all hopes of hope, it will be open by the end of the year.
That's exciting. What is a recovery center?
So a recovery community center does not house people. So it will not be housing. It will be a walk-in center that you can go in and get the help that you need for that social card, developing a job resume, developing job skills, recovery coaching. So I love the clinical piece. God bless the addictions counselor. That's not me. I don't want to sit across the desk, but I certainly will hold an individual's hand and walk through it with them to help them figure out the minefields of life. So we'll offer recovery coaching. We will also do recovery coach trainings, and it will be a walk-in site where not only the individual that is impacted themselves by substance misuse, but their families. I have a big heart for the families these days because I've seen what the families go through. I see what my own family went through. And I tell you, John, if I don't ever have to look at another mother, father, or sibling and say, I am sorry for your loss, it will be a great day.
Does somebody going into recovery or in the Serenity Sistas, one of the recovery homes, or into any type of treatment, is it key for them to want it? I mean, are there addicts that don't want it? I am just happier than, a pig in a poke to live life on the edge. And, if I wake up tomorrow, it's another day. If I don't, then that's what it was. And then there are some that I think that are like, I don't know how I got into this. I'm in despair and I'm reaching out. You're drowning and your angel is one on the boat with the hand going out. Come on, get
Scared in the boat. My favorite saying is, just get in the car. Yes, you do have to want it. I can't do for you what you're seeking if you're not willing to be an active participant. You have to be an active participant in your recovery process. Now, will I tell you that there have been people that have come into the houses that clearly are there because they've got a judge on them, a probation officer on them, their mother won't let them come home, their husband or their wife has been like, not today, you're not coming home. And they walk the line of doing the bare minimum. Absolutely, we do. We get that often. You have to be as desperate as a dying human would be. That's how I look at it. And I empathize with that.
What is that feeling?
Absolute hopelessness, despair, and darkness. And I can tell you that from personal experience because I've been there. I will never. I pray that I never forget my last day in active addiction because I made choices that would have taken me to the point of we would not be sitting here today because it was my intention that morning to end my life. And that had never crossed my mind. In the 33 years that I was in active addiction, I never thought to myself, today I'm going to end my life. It was always, it might happen today. I don't know. Let's roll the dice and see what happens. Only because I played the game with addiction, right? I walked the game of addiction. But on that final day, my choice was today is the day I'm going to end my life. And I had an appointment that morning at 9 o'clock to go into the Hope House, and I still was so hopeless. I had a fear of another failure, and I also had a fear of success. Because if I gained a little bit of success and then I relapsed, it just, showed that I was a loser.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I mean, I get that. That fear is success. And my innocent imagine, and also is that you don't know what to feel. I mean, you're coming out of it. Okay, yes, this is my last day now. I am going to be a success. That's in my mindset right now this morning. I don't know how to be a success. What if I don't get the job? What if I don't have the car or the bike to be able to get to work? Or, those kind of, what if I get involved with the wrong people that bring me back into the world that I'm trying to leave?
Fear of the unknown probably takes more individuals back out into relapse than anything else. It's the fear of the unknown. I didn't know what to expect from the world. I'd burned everything to the ground. I didn't know how I was ever going to rebuild my life.
It really is. It is not an easy world to live in without our issues that everybody has, whether it be addiction or personality or, whatever it may be. and getting through in life today is a challenge.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. It's hard across the board. My mother has never suffered from the disease of addiction, and she was very successful, and she had a great life. And then my dad died, and the fear of the unknown of how do I live my life now? I think we all go through that. But my mother was born with an off switch. I don't have an off switch when it comes to the addictive part of my personality. I don't have an off switch. I hate shoes, John. I own 12 pairs of Chuck Taylor.
Okay, fair enough.
So life is hard. And how do you take an individual from living that life that I knew what to expect on the streets. I knew what to expect. I didn't know what to expect in life once I got clean. So,
interesting. Mm-hmm. What, in the overall world of addiction recovery right now, what's needed the most? Is it more care for men, women, and children? More places, such as Serenity Sistas? You are a powerhouse here in Anne Arundel County. And once again, it's not limited to a bunch of, dopers here in Anne Arundel County. It's in Frederick and Baltimore. It's in, in the middle of nowhere in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, the needs. I'll start with recovering homes. Good, solid, ethical, safe recovery home.
I want to interrupt you here because that'll go out of my mind, but how are recovery homes welcomed in neighborhoods? Is that a hit or miss? I've got a friend of mine that owns a sober house. She rented it out she has a house in Hillsmere, rented it out to a sober house at Hillsmere. And the neighbor has absolutely lost their mind.
All of our homes are certified with the state of Maryland. And I don't have a problem with oversight. I am talking to people about overregulation, though, because there's a thing called COMAR. Don't ask me what the acronym stands for, but it's medical, clinical. That's not us.
Right.
So please don't box us into that area. So
it's funny. I talked to Bob Ireland, who is the CEO of Felon where has homes for developmentally challenged people, and I didn't realize they had 60 homes. But he said that I asked the same question, and I said, as far as neighbors go, and he said, okay, here's the deal: cut your grass, take your trash in, and don't park in front of somebody else's house.
Dad, all of those things are absolutely correct. If your ride comes to get you, they are not to play loud music. You are not to hang out on the front porch and smoke cigarettes. When you get out of your car, if you're smoking a cigarette, don't pluck the filter. It's all about being a good neighbor. Serenity Sistas has always been blessed because we have always gotten a house next to either somebody in a 12-step fellowship. One time it was a social worker. We've always had great neighbors. But I also believe that it's because we cut our grass, take our trash out, all of those things, right? You have to be a good neighbor. That's just the right thing to do, period.
True.
And that is part of our teachings at Serenity Sistas, how to operate in the world around you.
Your logo, is that a lotus? Is that what the flower is?
That is a lotus.
What is the symbol behind that?
Do you know how they grow?
No, I don't.
They start down in the muck of a pond. They have to come up through the muck. They have to come up through the water to get up to the top, up to the surface, where they turn into this incredibly beautiful flower.
I can't think of a better depiction for what Serenity Sistas does.
Yeah, thank you.
That's wild. Okay, I learned something brand new.
Thank you.
Brand new. Well, I think how can people? You are a nonprofit, right?
We are a nonprofit, fully nonprofit. You can go to our website and donate. We have a donate now. You can support us through the activities that we do in the community. We work closely with Recovery Anne Arundel, and they do a lot of recovery events.
Right, you got the
city and county. Yeah, go out and support those things. And I think most of all, I will always welcome donations, but I always ask people, get to know somebody in recovery. just get to know somebody in recovery and understand where they've come from, where they are, and where they're trying to go.
So what you'd say is, find somebody, know somebody that is in recovery.
But yeah, I mean, really, it's get to know somebody that's in recovery. Get to know your neighbors. How many of your neighbors do you really know? I mean, and I put that out to the community all the way around. How many of your neighbors do you really know? Thank God I only have one. And I just fell into that situation, and I loved him. I absolutely love that guy. But, if I didn't tell you today, as I sit here today, if I did not tell you that I was a 3-time convicted felon that would do anything and compromise herself in any way to get what she needed, most people are like, what?
Are you writing a short story or something?
Are you kidding me? Do you know what I mean? So, because we change, we can and do recover. There's no doubt in my mind about that. We can and do.
What was your vice? What was your drug of choice?
More.
Huh?
More.
Okay, fair.
I mean, at the end, it was heroin.
Okay.
It was heroin.
But back in the day, did you ever figure that you would be standing arm in arm with the police department?
No.
And I will say that you are on the board of the Annapolis Police Foundation.
I am.
You might even have a badge to get into the police station.
No, they haven't given me one of those yet, no. But I have had the honor of standing side by side with an officer who literally on multiple occasions put me into the back of a paddy wagon or the back of a police car. Because he's still on the force. He's watched me grow. And to me, that is one of the highest of high honors.
And it's got to be a pretty high honor for him, because I imagine as a cop, you can get pretty jaded to be able to sit there and say, damn, people can do it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But that's also a teaching thing for me, right? With my participants, because I get it all the time. I don't understand why there's this rule. And I'm like, listen, it's all about what can we learn? And I don't just throw things out there willy-nilly. Almost everything I say, there is a teachable moment behind it. And that whole thing with the police, they're like, you what? And I'm like, absolutely, I stand side by side by the police. They're just doing a job. And trust me when I tell you, if your grandmother was in trouble, you'd want that officer there helping your family. So how about we give them some wins? And that's what I want to do. I mean, I try to give Jennifer Corbin wins as much as I can, because law enforcement and those positions, they don't get wins. So I like wins.
Well, I will credit former county executive for establishing the Safe Stations program and really sort of taking the stigmatization of addiction down quite a few notches with what was there in the establishment of the crisis response team and everything else. So, I mean, I think that we take a step forward in the larger world of that. I think you're obviously helping take some big strides as well. And I encourage everybody to visit serenitysistas.org. And that's SERENITYSISTAS.org. And it's spelled out on a T-shirt right in front of me, and I still figured it out. But
there's a lot of S's in it, John. A lot of S's. I get that. I would also put out, if a person wanted to contact me, there's a contact us on that website, and I am happy to talk to anybody in the community.
And I want to thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you.
More so than your time, I want to thank you for your efforts that you've done and the strides that you made. For everybody that's come through your home, how many people have you had come through your home?
At last count, over 1,650.
Okay, and that's going back from when you had one house to...
Correct. It's going back to 2013. And I could not do it without the team, my team of employees. I don't do anything by myself. I can't do it. So, some of that praise goes to them.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that.
We love you. All right.
I do. Now I'm going to hug you when I get up.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight, Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.